Hi, it's James Saracen here with another discussion point or hot topic, if you want to call it that. And it is this thing that people have about talking about the way one drummer plays that they don't think is appropriate for that. And, I'm going to use country music for an example right now. A lot of these country artists now that are very big, Jason Aldean and Garth Brooks and Blake Shelton and Rascal Flatts, and a lot of these have gone beyond the casino scene, and they're playing arenas and stadiums, and they're playing large concert venues, Keith Urban, all that kind of stuff. And you know, their drummers, Rich Redmond, for instance, if you ever watch Rich Redmond, he hits the drums. I mean, he hits those drums as if he's in a heavy metal band. And people say, well, that's just not country. Well, it's country. He plays for a country artist. And you know what? If Jason Aldean didn't want that, he would get a different drummer. I'm sure that he wants that kick, he wants that drive in these big type of venues. And that's how he gets to play. If you've ever seen Elvin Jones live, you think, oh, it's a jazz thing, he's going to play this. No, Elvin did not play quietly. Elvin was loud. So my point is this: the drummers play for what they're hired to do. If the artist didn't want them to play that way, there's 1,000 drummers to choose from. And I'm sure Willie Nelson doesn't want somebody who hits the drums the way that Jim Riley or Rich Redmond or somebody do. But those bands that they're in, they do want that. And they might have been hired specifically for it. They might have said, it's a country tune, but I want a rock feel behind it. And so, you see Blake Shelton, there's a wide variety of tunes that he plays. And some of them, they lean toward rock. But if you're going to play in a stadium, you might want a little bit of a kick to it. Garth Brooks. I remember seeing Garth Brooks open for the Judds. And I actually met Garth Brooks that day because I knew the drummer for the Judds at the time. His name was George Honey. And George played a very subdued sound, but Garth Brooks was driving like crazy, and it was a totally different feel and everything. But the energy was both bands were outstanding, but the energy was definitely in the category of Garth Brooks. It sounded like a rock band playing country, and that's fine. That's what they needed. And I have seen, Sawyer Brown is a rock feel with country. And I saw Merle Haggard play live one time, and the drummer was playing very, very, very subdued and very quietly, but it was a big arena, and he was opening for Clint Black. And when Clint Black came out, it was a totally different vibe, totally different feel. Clint Black still was part of that 90s, what people labeled as hat acts, but had a big run of a lot of hits. But when that band came on, the energy was completely different. It was definitely more rock oriented, even though it was country music. So the categories keep expanding, and it's okay for these artists to hire whoever they feel is going to fit the vibe for them. If you watch Marty Stewart and the Fabulous Superlatives, the way they play is fantastic, but it fits what they're doing. And I'm sure that if you hired Jim Riley, I know I keep using those two, Jim Riley and Rich Redmond, they would play whatever their boss wants them to play. But I guarantee you, in the positions they're in, they're being asked to really drive that and give it a feel, really lift that energy, and that's why they play that way. So when people start to say that's not country, that's not the way you need to play, or they're demonstrating a train beat on a YouTube video, and they're just hammering it out, and people are like, you don't need to play the drums that hard to play a train beat. No, you don't. If you're going to play for Johnny Cash and it's a trio, you might play it completely different than you would playing in a stadium with Jason Aldean or Rascal Flatts. My point is, you do what's appropriate. If the musicians they played for or the artists they played for didn't want that, they have plenty of people to choose from. I guarantee you, they want that or they wouldn't have those gigs.